Okay, so welcome back to our PCB layout tutorial. During the last drawing session, we had gotten to finish and print the PCB, the schematic, and then we did I think we can try and we can undo our changes. This is how you undo changes here. You can undo changes, edit, undo a change. You do this when you want to go back to a pointer. So this is the point at where we completed our PCB design. Now, one challenge about this is that we are unable to do a PCB schematic for these, and also PCB schematic for V in and V out. What do I mean? When you go to our PCB schematic here, we're going to be missing some of these components here. R4, R3, R2, R1. Yeah. So now I think I've seen the V in. V in will be this one. Yeah. So good. Let's see if it will. Okay, fine. It doesn't allow us to do it. So now, if you want to handle things like this, how do you do it? You want to delete these. You want to delete that. You select it and you can press the delete key on your keyboard, or you can also delete the old-fashioned way. So how do you handle such components which do not have a schematic outlay? It's very simple. You come back to your component list, you choose on your ports and devices, and then use something called a T-block. So T-blocks are connectors. You can see this one has 12 connections. For us, we want one which has 2 connections. So we're going to use a T-block with 2 connections, and we're going to use it to replace our output. So like that. We go back to our image. It's called V out. So we're going to replace the name to V out. Okay, and then we can just delete that. Sorry, we can just change the name there. We can void that one so that it can become empty. Now, part value, part reference. Yeah, so that is a common mistake. If I want to use a part, it's a good thing that I made the mistake so that you can see the difference. We have a part value. Part value is, let us say, if this was a voltage source, that would be the part value. Let's say 5 volts. But since this one is a V out, it does not have a value. But the part reference is actually the name of the part. So we can do that. We now have our V out, which has a schematic. Now I want to align this V out, yeah, to give us that. I want to align it like that, and then I want to make my connection like that. So now let us see if we can also change this. We can delete the object. We get another T-block that, and we can edit. Okay, so now this one will be part value. Part reference will be V in or VCC. Sorry, and then part value, can go with it, and we can click on okay, and then we can make one connection to one of the elements like that. So now we have everything that we need. We'll see if this V in can still work. So now we switch to our PCB layout. The first thing you will notice is that the PCB layout is dark. This is how I switched from there to PCB layout. It is a bit dark. So the first thing you want to do when you switch to your PCB layout is you want to select the 2D graphic. Here it is, yeah, on this menu at the end. On this menu at the end, from the bottom here, you want this one, which is a square. Okay, now next, once you've selected this square, it's called the 2D graphics box mode. You want to select at the bottom here, where it's written top silk, you want to select board edge. You're not going to be able to do anything until you select a board edge. Now for the board edge, I suggest you just select an appropriate area, and that is your board edge. Okay, so now you go back to your component mode, and you can now see that VIN does not have a schematic layout. Everything else has a schematic layout, but VIN does not have a schematic layout. VIN is our voltage source. So what do we do? How do I know it doesn't have a schematic layout? It's because it's cancelled out. If you see a component which is cancelled out, just know that it doesn't have a PCB layout. All the rest have PCB layouts. If you select them, you'll be able to see the PCB layout for each of them, like that. But VIN, if you select it, it will tell you it's not packaged. So what do we do at this point? It's very simple. We go back to our schematic, and we want to delete this part. We delete the object, of course the lines go. We're going to replace it with a T block. We're going to replace it with a T block, and we're going to rotate the T block 180 degrees, so it's facing this other direction. And then we're going to make the connections. We're going to make the connections. Like that. Now next, we want to change the values for the T block. We want to change the values for the T block. Now, if we look at our drawing, it was VIN. The value was VIN. Like that. The reference was VIN. It had no value, and so that is how we're going to do it. And we say okay. So now once we go back to our PCB layout, our VIN is now, it is deselected. Now we have if you want to avoid doing a lot of work here, you have two options which are very simple and they're very easy, and you can finish designing your PCB in a very easy way. Now what do you do? I'm going to teach you this shortcut because of examination is near, but there's also another better way of doing this. But since we don't have time, I'll just teach you. You're going to use two buttons and you're going to be done with your PCB layout. The most important thing in PCB layout is that you define the borders of your PCB. So once which is what we did with this yellow border. So never forget that. Always start with the 2D graphics box. Once you click it, you're going to find Outlook. Once I click that, I come and find, once I click on that one, it usually brings, before we did this, by default, once you start this, it's going to click on that, and on this menu it's going to appear, and you're supposed to select border. Okay, once your border is drawn, then everything else becomes easy. Now I want us to move to this part. This part is going to assist us in making our PCB layout. So what do? It's very easy. There's something known as the auto placer. It is the third last auto placer. So I'll just click on the auto placer. I'll make sure every component is selected. Okay, and then I'm not going to do anything else to it. I'm just going to say okay. Now Proteus on its own is going to find the best way to place my circuit, and is going to place my circuit within the borders of the PCB. Now next, once you've placed your circuit, you'll come back up here. You do nothing. Once you click OK, Proteus itself is going to calculate, it's going to do all these settings, it's going to do everything that you're seeing here. Don't worry about this. Next, what you're going to do is click on the auto router. Now once you open these, do not do anything, just click on begin routing. Now that is done. You now have your PCB schematic. Here it is. Very simple. This is not the best way of doing it, but for the interest of examination, because you want to pass, this is the easiest way of doing it. So now, once that happens, once you're done with these, don't worry, I'll repeat the process one more time from scratch. So once all this is done, what you need to do is go to output. Okay, now it's not file anymore. You can go to output, export your graphics to Adobe PDF file. So you're going to be asked which layers do you want to export. So you just go with that. Go with the default, and you're going to here on file name again. You want to change your file name, so you will click on file name desktop, and then you're going to select your folder. For me, this is my folder which I was using. I had it named with my name, and then I'm going to call this the PCB, and PCB caps lock, and then I'm going to click on save. Once that is done, I'll click on OK, and there is my PCB outlook. It is not the most ideal way of doing it, I'll confess that, but it is the simplest way which I can teach you right now. So I'll repeat the process. The first thing I did, I drew my schematic capture, this one, and I printed it. Once I printed it, I replaced components which did not have schematic options with a T-block. Components such as the voltage generator did not have a schematic representation, did not have a PCB representation, so I replaced them on the VCC. Next, I printed my work first, and then I replaced my components after I printed my work. Next is our PCB layout. Now, the first thing I did when I opened my PCB layout was drawing the board layout like this, the yellow box which you can see. So what I did, I selected on these, I selected on that option, this option here, 2D, this one here, 2D box mode, and then sorry for that, I selected on that, and then I selected this layer known as the board edge. And then once I selected the board edge, I came to my schematic and I drew my board edge like that. Now next, once I'd drawn my board edge, I did not suffer or struggle so much. What I did, I started by auto placer. Once I clicked on the auto placer, right now it will, let me see if we can undo everything that we have done. Edit, undo changes. Let's see if we can repeat everything. Okay, so we'll go back to our PCB. To escape. Okay, delete object. Good. So now we are back. So let's repeat the PCB drawing once and for all. So we had our schematic, then we replaced components which do not have. How do I know they don't have a PCB outlook? When I was laying the components, when I was laying them, I could check on the schematic symbol. How do you check on schematic symbol? Let us say any component, it will have a schematic symbol and a PCB preview like this. Some components, if it is blank down here, you just know it does not have a PCB preview, so it will not work on the PCB board. Yeah, so something like V sign, something like the V sign, sign generator voltage source, does not have a PCB preview like that. Yeah, something like the T block, which we are replacing the T block. Like now this one with 2 terminals, the T block has a PCB. Okay, so that is what that's how I knew some of these components do not have a PCB layout. Also, okay. Now the first thing I did when I opened my drawing like this one, you can use this is always the selection mode. Selection mode is very important when you're drawing things. So if you ever lose focus, you just go back here to selection mode, components, like that. Also on this list you can now okay, the first thing you do after you've completed your schematics and you have converted the components which cannot be represented, first thing you do is you draw your outlook, you draw your board edges. So how do you draw your board edges? You click on your 2D graphics board box and then you click on your board edge layer like that. You just click here, and all these are layers of your PCB, but you just want to draw the board edge. Now if I can estimate, our board was very small, it was a bit tiny, so this should do. Now once that is done, the only other thing I only did 2 things now. I did my auto placer. Auto placer is up here, auto placer is this one. So I did my auto placer. I just make sure everything is selected. Everything should be selected. Leave the rest as it is, and I said okay, like that. Now after doing that, next I did my auto router. Okay, so they are my components. This one appear a bit small, I don't know why. So now next, output, export graphics as an Adobe PDF file. Good, so like that. Now once you have that, what do? I did not change anything on the layers. I did not change anything here. I changed my file name to PCB, but I already have a PCB there. I'm just repeating what I did so that you can see the process again. And then I clicked on save. Now I've already renamed and saved it in the folder of my choice, and then I'll click on OK. And there is my PCB. I think it's a bit better now. It's a little bit better. Now this is not the ideal way of doing it, and there are also other outputs I can show you. Like you want to export your graphics like that one, you can even do the assembly port. Change your file name to PCB3. All of these you're allowed to put in your, like that. You're allowed to put it on your on your answer sheet like that. So next, we can even have our drill. Remember, this PCB is used for production. So you can even have our drill plot like that, and you click on OK, and this one will show us the points where we need to drill. So all these three images, but this one being the main important one, all these three images, you can take them all and submit them. What you do, you just make sure that you write your name. So now I have around 4 images which I can submit for assessment. Every image you need to have, every PDF you print, make sure you write your admission, your index number, your KNEC index number. I don't know if we're allowed to write our admission number, our names on the examination material. I don't think so, but you can write your index number. It is sufficient. Your KNEC index number. So we now have that schematic. We have our PCB outlay, we have our components outlay, and we have our drill plot. Now you can print all of those. The process for printing outside is pretty easy. You just select printer, which is this one, and you select the printer. There will be a teacher in the workshop who will help you with the printing. Remember, once you print, write your index number, please, so that your work does not get lost during marking. And I believe that will be the end of this class. It is not the most ideal way of doing this, of course, but I've just taught you so that you don't get lost during your examination. Yeah, you have a very easy way and a very easy task, at least to collect a few marks. I'd like to thank you for being attentive to this class. Kindly do not panic and do not be crushed by the expectation of the exam. I believe that you are more than ready and you're more than capable of getting at least 30 marks in this section. At least 30 marks. What we've done is this question is usually worth 20 marks, 10 marks for the schematic alone, which is why I insisted on printing the schematic. Yeah, this is worth 10 marks. Now the PCB, this is not ideal. It's not the most ideal PCB layout, but you won't miss around 5 marks for this. So that is around 15 marks, and there's always another question for schematic. So that 15 plus another 10 marks, that is 25 marks. And you can still have your general construction questions. So in this section, it is very, very possible to garner a total of over 35 to 40 marks if you're very fast about it. Yeah. So anyway, I wish you all the best in your examinations. In case of any questions, please feel free to reach out. And in case this tutorial is a bit too detailed for you, I suggest you go to the workshop and you actually try this out yourself. Don't wait for the day of the exam. Don't wait for the day of the exam to try this out. Yeah. So thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best in your examinations.